The Philadelphia Eagles have some demons to slay this weekend in Tampa Bay, and one player is going to be the difference. I'll tell you why, coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Wednesday edition of the show. I'm your host, Louie DiBiase. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the entire app. It feels like this is an annual occurrence now, but the Philadelphia Eagles are headed to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers in September. This has been, it feels like, a yearly occurrence. They have played the Buccaneers 6 times since 2018. They're 1-5 in those games. This damn team has the Eagles number. 5 of those games of the 6 were in Tampa Bay. They are 1-4 when going down to Tampa. The only win they have in that time span of 8 seasons, every year actually, that I've been doing the Locked On Eagles podcast, is that 2023 win week 3. And what was the unique thing about that game? The one win the Eagles have against the Buccaneers in the last 6 matchups since 2018. What was the one outlier in the actual win they have? It's that A.J. Brown was playing in that football game. Every loss they have, 2018, 2021, they lost twice to Tampa Bay in 2021. 2023 in the wild card round of the playoffs. 2024, week 4, when they lost all of those games, who wasn't on the football field for the Eagles offense? It was number 11. I think A.J. Brown playing in this game is the key to revenge against this damn Buccaneers team that just has the Eagles number. No matter how good the Eagles are year after year, it always feels like they have to go down to Tampa Bay in September where it's over 100 degrees. You know the Eagles are going to have to wear their green jerseys. Like, that's just, again, a yearly tradition now, a yearly butt whooping. I think this is the season that they slay those demons. And yes, they did just beat them a couple years in Tampa, but the numbers are the numbers. Like, they are 1-5 against Tampa since 2018, and they only have that one win of 5 matchups when they have to go on the road to play the Buccaneers. I think this time around it will be different because the Eagles do have A.J. Brown. And the last time they beat them, they had A.J. Brown. I think when you look at the second half of last week, the way that they featured Brown in the passing game, they let Brown carry them, finally gave him opportunities. Even when he wasn't wide open, they gave him looks down the right sideline, deep shot, in the end zone, just a one-on-one back shoulder throw. You know, you also look at the couple comeback routes on 3rd and long on the game-winning drive. Was A.J. Brown wide open on any of those plays? No. But look, when you compare players to Calvin Johnson now, there are not a lot of receivers with that kind of build in the modern day NFL. When you think of who those kind of players are, that you can just throw it up to them, and they are the best at going up and getting it, making plays in contested situations. I would say, honestly, it's the 2 guys that I think of that were teammates at Ole Miss. It was A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. And the Eagles, I don't know why it took them 3 weeks to realize this when Brown has carried them in the past. When you look at that 2023 run the Eagles went on, when they went 10-1, when they were able to beat Tampa Bay, what sparked that run? It was Brown's historic all-time run of 7 straight games having over 125 yards. That had never been done in the history of the NFL before A.J. Brown in 2023. And that Tampa game is kind of what sparked it, because if you remember the week before against Minnesota on Monday Night Football, week 2, the Eagles won that football game, but A.J. Brown was pissed on the sidelines. That was kind of the start of people thinking that A.J. was a diva, even though he's not. He got caught on camera kind of being heated with Jalen Hurts and with the coaching staff. Like, he wanted the football. He was not getting targets, whether he says it or not. That was because he wanted targets. That next week against Tampa Bay, A.J. Brown had a really good performance, and it sparked one of the best runs a receiver has ever had. In a 7-game stretch, again, nobody has ever had 125-plus yards in 7 consecutive football games. A.J. did, and it started with that Tampa game, that Tampa win. Brown proved then. He proved a lot of times last year. He proved in 2022 that he can carry you as much as Saquon Barkley can, as much as this defense can, if you just let him. And I think this is the matchup after seeing what we saw in the second half against the Rams. I think this is the matchup this year where they, throughout the entire game for 4 quarters, are playing a far more aggressive brand of football on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get reckless and chuck it up to AJ in triple coverage. Like, Jalen is still going to be smart with the football. They're still going to run a lot with Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon will have more success this time around than he did last week. I just don't think Saquon's capable of having that many bad games in a row. So I think he's going to bounce back. But I really do think that game last week was the kick in the pants this passing game needed, this offense needed to be more aggressive. So that's why I'm feeling better about this situation in Tampa Bay, even though it feels like just no matter what, they cannot win in this stupid stadium. I'm so sick of seeing this every single year. I do think this time around they are going to slay those demons, and I think A.J. Brown makes a massive, massive difference. And, it's kind of ironic. Like, I was planning the show and thinking about talking about A.J. Brown, thinking about how, again, they have to play the Bucs week 4 in Tampa just like they did last year. It's kind of ironic how a year after the Eagles learned, like, the most important lesson in franchise history last year, after that Tampa loss, that bye week, they completely changed their offensive identity. They learned that, hey, we're a great top-tier rushing offense with the best offensive line in football, with a top 3 mobile quarterback, with the best running back in football, the best run game coordinator in Jeff Stoutland of all time. Like, why are we not featuring that? And that new mentality won them a Super Bowl. And it was because of that Buccaneers loss that they made those changes. It is kind of ironic that a year later, 1 calendar year later, they're in the exact same situation, but they're learning the complete opposite lesson. What the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles need to do is not what the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles needed to do. This team has learned a lesson that I think they took that run-first approach a little bit too far. I don't even want to say they took the run-first approach too far, but that style, that identity that worked for them last year, it almost made them, mentality-wise, a little bit, not even a little bit, like way too conservative through those first 2.5 games. And so it's kind of funny now that they're in Tampa Bay week 4, they're almost switching the mentality of, hey, we need to play more aggressive. Like, hey, we need to be able to win as well because of the passing game. I don't think they're going to completely throw out what they did last year. That's still going to be their bread and butter. But I just think it is kind of interesting that, yet again, week 3, week 4, around this time of year, the Eagles are learning a very valuable lesson that I think is going to propel them into being championship contenders. I truly don't believe, even though the Eagles were 2-0, that the brand of football they were playing against Dallas and Kansas City, I truly don't believe that the way they were playing on offense, from a passing perspective, from a mentality perspective, with how conservative Jalen Hurts was, the play calling was, how vanilla it was, just not giving their stars chances, they weren't going to be able to do that and win a Super Bowl. Teams are honing in because of your success last year after that Tampa loss, because you changed your mentality and you went on to run for a Super Bowl. Now defenses are trying to stop Saquon Barkley. So you need to make sure that you prove to them that you're multidimensional in offense, that, hey, sure, you can do this. You can stack 8 to 9 guys in the box, but we're going to make you pay because we have one of the most, maybe the most unguardable receiver one-on-one in football in the league in A.J. Brown. And we also have one of the most underrated, I think, top 10 receivers in the NFL as well, in Devontae Smith. And even Dallas Goedert, he only had 1 catch, but it was the crucial touchdown that started the comeback, a 30-plus yard touchdown reception over the middle of the field. It is kind of ironic that they're learning now, like, hey, we need to utilize that area of the game more and more aggressive if we want to have as much success as we did last year after that Tampa game running the football. So it's going to be a really fascinating matchup. These are 2 3-0 teams that are, I think, both top 4 teams in the NFC. And this game is very, very important when it comes to getting that number 1 seed in the NFC. The NFL certainly did not make it easy on the Eagles, and they raised the stakes coming out of the gate. They had an NFC East rivalry matchup to open the season. Then they had a Super Bowl rematch against Kansas City. Then they had a huge game against the Rams that also will decide seeding, in my opinion. The Rams are a top 3 team in the NFC. And now Tampa Bay, week 4. Like, this has been a challenge, but I think they're up for it, and I really do believe, I'm feeling positive that this is going to be a different kind of outcome than they're used to heading down to Tampa Bay. And I really do think that A.J. Brown, coming off the game he did versus L.A., and the fact that he's actually playing in this matchup when he normally has not played the Buccaneers, when he's been on the Eagles, I think that could be the difference, and I do think they're going to get a win on Sunday. Another reason they could get a win, Quinyon Mitchell, or if they're going to get a win, how is that going to happen? Quinyon Mitchell against Emeka Egbuka, I think that's one of the key matchups. And I think Vic Fangio needs to shadow Igbuka with number 27. I'll tell you why. Coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anybody else. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Eagles fans, continuing on this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Eagles Buccaneers this Sunday in Tampa Bay. I'm sure they're going to be wearing green and white. Just feels like this is a yearly occurrence. And I really hope this isn't the last time they see them this year. I wanted it last year. I want it again this year. I want Tampa Bay in Philly in January. The Eagles have had to deal with this kind of heat and these kind of losses every single season in the regular season. I want Tampa on a platter in the divisional round or the NFC Championship at the Link. I want to exercise those demons in the playoffs. Make them come to a cold Philadelphia and see how they like it, and let's send them home. I know this is going to be a revenge game on Sunday, but I really want to see it in the postseason. I want Tampa. And I know they're a good football team. They're a really good roster. But this game specifically, I'm feeling good about this matchup. Not only because A.J. Brown's going to be playing in it, and he's only played once against Tampa for the Eagles in their only win since 2018 and 2023, but also because when you look at the Buccaneers, they are really, really banged up right now. Tristan Wirfs is hurt. Their starting left tackle might not be in this game. Mike Evans, we already know, has been ruled out. Mike Evans has had a lot of success against the Eagles in the past. Chris Godwin is questionable. His return, they were eyeing at a week 4 to week 6, week 7 kind of range. So Godwin has not been ruled out. Kalijah Cansey, one of their best interior defensive linemen, one of their best players on defense, will not be playing in this game. So Tampa Bay, even though they're 3-0, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. And like the Eagles, they've had to pull a rabbit out of a hat late in these games every single week. Baker Mayfield's legit. Tampa's legit. I think they're a top 4 team in the conference. But right now, on paper, the Eagles are a better football team, and they have the advantage in this game. But again, I don't want to say, slam dunk they're going to win, because there is this elephant in the room, this monkey on their back about heading down to Tampa, that it just seems like nothing ever goes right. Maybe the approach of going down a day early to get used to the heat, maybe that's going to help. I like that Sirianni's just thinking about changing it up and trying to get this done and realizing, having the self-awareness to know this team, his team has struggled in years past going down here to the city. But for me, I do feel like on paper, when we're talking about actual football things, like matchups to watch, I do like the Eagles in this one. And there is one key matchup. If they can get a win here, I think they're going to win this football game. It's Quinyon Mitchell against Emeka Egbuka, their first-round wide receiver out of the University of Ohio State. Egbuka right now, I think if the season ended today, he would be the Rookie of the Year for the offensive side of the football, right? I mean, he's been incredible. He already has 181 yards and 3 touchdowns in just 3 games. Mike Evans hurt. Chris Godwin maybe not playing. He's their one legitimate passing target. And with that being said, I want Quinyon Mitchell. He's going to cover Igbuka a lot in this football game. And I'm sure Igbuka is also going to play inside in the slot, reduce splits, so he'll probably see a healthy dose of Cooper DeJean. But if I was Vic Fangio, this is the exact kind of game that when in July and August you were talking about Quinyon maybe playing on both sides more this year because they'll play more man coverage. He'll shadow receivers more if the matchup presents itself that's necessary. This is that matchup to do it. Fangio talking about that, and he did it last week a lot with Quinyon Mitchell going up against Devontae Adams. But this specifically is the exact kind of instance that I would say you're not always going to have Q shadow a receiver, but when a team only has one legitimate star target healthy, even if Godwin's playing, he's not going to be 100%, and he'll likely play in the slot a lot against Cooper DeJean. This is the kind of game Quinyon Mitchell should shadow. Now, if you're playing a team like, I don't know, Cincinnati or, a team that has multiple weapons, right? Like a Miami. If a team has 2 to 3 star passing targets, no. I mean, I don't think it's necessary to have a corner shadow a player. Unless you really think he matches up well with that guy. Like last week, I get why Q was on Davante Adams a lot. But this game, when Igbuka is the only real threat, in my opinion, in the passing game, I want Mitchell, even on the inside. Like I know DeJean matches up pretty well with this kind of receiver, but I would just put number 27 on Igbuka the entire game. I mean, that Q tape against Davante last week it brought a tear to my eye. I mean, the Eagles finally have an elite quarterback that's not 1,000 years old. Like that tape was chef's kiss. I mean, these numbers were incredible from Quinyon Mitchell. Quietly against Davante Adams and Puka Nacua, a top 3 wide receiving duo in the NFL. 6 targets Q's way, allowed just 3 receptions for 20 yards. That's it. Puka Nacua had over 100 yards and over 10 catches. He had 11 receptions on the day, and pretty much nothing came on Q. And Davante Adams, he said he had something for Quinyon Mitchell last week. He said he was going to give him something new that he's never seen before. What was it? Like not being able to create separation? Mitchell had him on Guantanamo Bay. So I think Quinyon is, A.J. Brown I think is the most important player on the offensive side of the football in this matchup. I think Quinyon Mitchell is the most important defensive player in this matchup. Because again, if you can stop that Baker Mayfield, Emeka Egbuka combo, I think they win this game. Because Tampa, like I said, they are really, really beat up on both sides of the football. That combo is going to have to probably carry them. And Baker is really good. I was slow to admit for years, I kind of wanted more and more proof that he was a legit franchise quarterback that I think can play at an elite level for more than just one season. I think the proof's in the pudding. After seeing what he's done the last 2 years in Tampa, what he did that one season in Cleveland back in 2021, now what he's doing through the first 3 games this year at 3-0, Baker's legit. So they need to stop his number 1 target, and they need to get to him. They need to rush the passer, get Baker Mayfield down. He's very underrated at extending plays, so they need to hit home, and they need to just take out Igbuka, and I think they win this game. I will say, though, it's going to be a lot harder for the Eagles to get to Baker Mayfield this week because Nolan Smith will not be playing in this game. He was placed on IR. How does that affect the defensive game plan? We'll get into it as we wrap up this Wednesday edition of Locked On Eagles, coming up next. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the entire app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, whether it's player props, that Jalen Hurts anytime rushing touchdown just hits every single week, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds, like the witching hour at 3:30. You want to get in on the action on some of those one-score games across the league. FanDuel's got you covered. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Take Eagles money line over Tampa Bay. We are going to finally get this done in Florida. Download the FanDuel app. Use FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Eagles fans, we are wrapping up this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Eagles Bucks this Sunday. We'll have crossover Thursday tomorrow with James Yarko of Locked On Bucks to continue to preview that matchup. Got a show for you Friday as well, so make sure if you're not already, subscribe to the Locked On Eagles podcast. We got 5 shows for you Monday through Friday, plus 2 live hour-long squad shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that's 7 shows throughout the week. And then we have 2 post-game shows as well right after the game. I go live for 30 minutes, and then myself, Jason Martias, and Harry Mays, we have our postcast show for an hour. So we have 90 minutes of post-game coverage as well on YouTube and wherever you get the show in audio form. So subscribe. You're not getting more content on any Eagles platform than the Locked On Eagles podcast. Some not so good news for this matchup, though, on the defensive side of the ball. If the Eagles want to get to Baker Mayfield, they're going to have to do it without Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is heading to IR re-injured his tricep that he injured in Super Bowl 59, so he's going to be out at least the next month. According to Adam Schefter, so he strained his tricep Sunday, now expected to be sidelined through the team's November 2nd bye. He could return for the Monday night November 10th game at Green Bay. So he's likely going to miss the next 5 games, and that's tough because Nolan Smith, although the numbers really don't say much, he has been underratedly good this year. Like, he has been one of the pillars of this defense. I think he's been the number one player against the run. The Eagles quietly have kind of not been great stopping running backs this year. They didn't do well they did great against Kansas City, but 2 of the 3 games, Kyren Williams had a lot of success against that front. So did Javonte Williams, but Nolan Smith is quietly becoming one of the best edge setters in the entire NFL. And he's been getting to the quarterback too. Like, his pass rush win rate is good. I think he's looked very developed as a pass rusher. To not have your number one edge rusher for the next 5 games is pretty brutal. So if the Eagles are going to want to get pass rush going on the outside, Azeez Ojulari, does he have anything? He's been a healthy scratch through these first 3 games. I think it's likely he dresses against Tampa Bay and will likely be that 4th man in the rotation. So they're going to need Josh Uche to continue to play the way he has and increase snaps. Zadarius Smith is going to have a bigger role. And Jalix Hunt, we're looking at you suddenly, man. I mean, I thought year 2 he would have a bigger role and continue to develop, but the fact that he's 3 weeks into the season, a month into the year, in year 2, the go-to guy now on the edge is kind of crazy, but they need him now. He has to be the guy until Nolan Smith comes back. But they still have pretty good depth. I mean, I believe in Azeez Ojulari still if you're using him in obvious pass rushing situations. I thought throughout the summer in camp in the preseason, he did flash in that way. Now, I do think he's a liability, against the run. If they ever use him in coverage, that's not ideal. But I think you could get more out of him as that 4th guy than you got out of Bryce Huff last year. So they're going to need him, though, because they've really liked using that 4-man rotation this year, and he's going to be the guy. I can't imagine it's Agbo Okunrakwo, who's also been a healthy scratch through 3 weeks, but I was kind of questioning why the Eagles were keeping 7 edge rushers, but now with this Nolan Smith injury, I think it really does help. So Ojulari is going to be active, I would imagine, against Tampa, and you need those other 3 to step up. You need more out of Jalix Hunt. You're the 1 now. Josh Uche, you're the 2, and Zadarius Smith, you're kind of the 2B. So not a great loss, though. Nolan Smith headed to IR. I did wonder how healthy that tricep was, though, with the brace on. It didn't look like he was really playing limited. Jalen Carter, it looks like is clearly injured. His arm, I don't know if it's an elbow, forearm kind of injury, but he clearly was dealing with that in the Kansas City game and the LA game. But Nolan Smith, watching back the Rams tape yesterday, I didn't really see much as to him being limited. But nonetheless, he's going to IR, and that's not ideal because he's been really good. Jacorian Bennett also put on IR. Whatever. I mean, time to give Kelee Ringo a chance. Vic Fangio said it in his press conference the other day that he's been telling Kelee to be ready. Well, now's the time. Bennett's not in the lineup. Adoree Jackson had a better performance against the Rams, but I think it's time to give Ringo a chance and see what he has. And one other thing in the to note in the Eagles roster moves, which it was a flurry of them today, the return of Quez Watkins. A former Lou DiBiase, my guy, Quez Watkins, is back, signed to the practice squad. So is Eli Ricks. 2 guys that I really liked a couple years ago. But it is funny, and I get it. He had one of the biggest drops in Eagles history in the Super Bowl in 2022 against the Kansas City Chiefs that if he makes that play, maybe they win that championship. The minute I saw that tweet that Quez is back, just a flurry of negative tweets. Just people do not want him back. So not ideal, but I don't know. I still like Quez Watkins' speed. If there are injuries, as a field stretcher, I still think he could have a role. Is he an upgrade at returner over Tank Bigsby and John Mechie? My God, anybody but those 2. After seeing, I can't believe they gave up multiple picks for Bigsby, and the guy can't even field a kickoff. Mechie and Bigsby, who, funny enough, they traded for both of those guys in the last month and a half, neither one of them was able to field a kickoff. It was unbelievable, and maybe Quez is that guy. I just like that they're bringing in more options with speed. The big one, though, was them signing a couple days ago former Jets and Giants kick returner Xavier Gibson. That's a player I could actually see getting real reps. I would imagine he's activated to the roster this week against Tampa to give him a shot, because what happened last week, like, you could not start in your own 15, 10, 5-yard line every single drive, or you're not going to win a lot of football games that way. And that's what they had to deal with against the Los Angeles Rams. So those are the big takeaways from today's news. Nolan Smith placed on IR. Quez Watkins is back in the fold. And then also, what was the other thing? Oh, Jacorian Bennett placed on IR. Time to give Kelee Ringo an opportunity. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen each and every day until tomorrow for Crossover Thursday. I'm Louie DiBiase signing off. Thanks as always for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.